Everybody knows John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer. But what about the other guys? The lesser known, that are just as evil. Come along and explore them and learn some hard lessons with me, Brett, and my co-host and beautiful wife, Deanna. Each week, we will be exploring the dark minds of these people, also paranormal, conspiracy theory, and some cryptids. We hope you have as much fun with this as we do.
Hey everybody, this is Deanna.
Hey classmates, this is Brett, and welcome back to episode 2 of season 2 of Hard Lessons. Episode 19 altogether. So we're pretty much professionals at this point.
Professionals, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to switch up things a little bit. Teach saw how much fun it was to do the More You Know session, so she's going to start doing that. So take it away, Teach.
All right, so I have a couple of them that I thought was pretty neat. Okay, so the first one. If the Earth suddenly stopped spinning, the atmosphere would still be in motion with the Earth's original 1,100 mile per hour rotation speed at the equator. Wind and tsunamis would destroy everything almost instantly.
Holy cow.
No.
That's pretty wild to think
Earth keeps spinning.
Please.
Spinning. All right. Second one. Great white sharks regularly meet up in the middle of the Pacific Ocean in an area known as the White Shark Cafe.
So they have like a little business meeting? They
I guess so.
come with
like,
suit and tie? And...
I guess so. Or like, hey, the best, most tasteful people are located here. Go south.
Makes sense.
Yeah, if you want a little more freezer or popsicle people, you gotta go north.
I like it.
But I don't really know, like, water temperature wise, like, if there's a thing they like it, do they like cold water, or do they prefer to stay warm water type thing? So they may not like people sickles.
People sickles.
Yeah.
Lainey, we have a new t-shirt we need.
People sickles.
People sickles. All right. That was cool, Teach. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was awesome.
I don't know if you learned anything new, but
I absolutely did.
awesome.
Whales have business meetings. And
Whales? Sharks.
Sharks have business meetings.
There you go.
And the Earth's got to keep on spinning.
Mm-hmm. Like, terribly bad. That would be scary.
That would be horribly scary.
Well, in an instant, we wouldn't even know it anyway.
We wouldn't.
No, so, yeah, well. Alrighty. Class is in session.
All right, Teach. So last week you drew paranormal.
Uh-huh.
And so we're going to go just a little bit out of the country.
Okay.
Going to go visit our friends up in Canada.
Oh, Canada.
And today we are going to be talking about the Great Amherst Mystery.
Amherst.
Amherst is in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
Well, you should know. You took the notes.
I know, but that was days ago.
Mm.
Yes, Nova Scotia. Excuse me. So just a little bit of setup, okay? And so this survey was done in Canada, since the story is in Canada. So next time we do a paranormal, that I do an American paranormal story, I'll look up surveys for America.
So,
Our
was this survey like the scariest place?
no,
Sorry.
you're good. Are ghosts real? A Canadian survey in 2006 by survey company Ipsos Reid, almost half of Canadians believe so. The same survey showed that 1 in 5 Canadians believe they have been in the presence of a ghost. And 60% believe that they have not only been in the presence of ghosts, but have experienced activity, paranormal activity, at one point or another in their life.
Wow.
Yeah. So, what is the main difference between a ghost and a poltergeist?
Well, I'm going to say a poltergeist is the scary version thing, and a ghost is a body form person.
Very cool. Ghosts have been reported in several different locations: hotels, bars, theaters,
Okay.
schools. Poltergeists are usually confined to a house.
Ew.
Poltergeists, yeah, are domestic, confined to a house. So, like,
Oh.
I mean, you could have a ghost in a house, but you could also have a poltergeist in a house. So what's the difference?
So you could have like one of each?
You could have one of each.
Like a good guy, bad guy?
Possibly.
Okay.
Many who have witnessed ghosts get the impression that they just want their presence known.
Okay.
Think of Casper. Hey, I'm here.
Okay.
Those that have experienced poltergeist activity, however, describe antics suggesting mischief intent.
Okay.
And lastly, poltergeist activity generally targets individuals. When the target is in a certain house, activity picks up. When they leave, it stops.
Okay.
So not only is it confined to a house, but it targets individuals.
Sounds creepy.
It does. So
Like a stalker.
a stalker ghost. Maybe that's another T-shirt.
Mine are funnier.
They are. So where do we get the word poltergeist? As she takes the cookie out of her mouth to answer.
These are good cookies.
They are good cookies. You need to make more.
Poltergeist. I'm gonna say it's something, but I can't really remember.
Okay. Well, we get it from Germany.
Okay.
Polter, meaning to crash about.
Okay.
And Geist, meaning ghost.
Oh. Okay.
So, poltergeist is a ghost that crashes about or bangs things or causes mischief.
Okay.
Okay. So, many believe a poltergeist is a mischief entity, a rambunctious ghost or demon, has some unique variety of troublesome spirit, and feeds off the energy of troubled people.
Okay.
All this is setting the stage for our story today.
Okay.
Others.
What about non-believers? Okay.
I'm glad you asked. Others feel like it is a hoax perpetrated by angsty people for the purpose of causing mischief or attracting attention to themselves. So,
I'm going to go for that.
yeah.
People just want attention, so they're going to make stuff up.
Well, wait till you hear today's story.
All right. You going to make me a believer?
I'm going to try my best. So, today we're going to Amherst, Nova Scotia, and talk about the great Amherst mystery.
Okay.
All right. So, Amherst is located in the northeast end of the Cumberland Basin, 14 miles south of the Northumberland Strait. So,
Okay, that makes no sense.
yeah, well, I mean, right there by the ocean. straits.
Do you even know where this is located?
Up in Canada, over on the, let me get my bearings straight. That's north. So it'd be the northeast side of Canada.
There you go.
Yeah. It is less than 2 miles east of the border of New Brunswick. The population in 2020 was 9,404 people.
In Amherst?
Mm-hmm. It was established in 1764, but it was not incorporated as a city or town until December 18th, 1889.
Okay.
It is perched upon the shores of the Bay of Fundy. So we are going to go back. Not only are we going up to Canada, but we're going to go back in time. So we got to take our Wayback Machine. Our story starts in the 1870s.
Okay.
I wrote it down somewhere. So the furthest back I could find a population was 1878, and the population was 3,000 people.
I thought you just said it was in 17 whatever, the population was 9,000.
No, 2020 the population was 9,404.
I apologize.
No, you're good. It was founded in 1764.
Okay.
Where the 1700s came in.
Okay, but they couldn't find a population for 1764?
The farthest I could find back in the Google machine was 1878. Was 3,000.
So what happened between 1764?
The record's burnt. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So the Great Amherst Mystery is known as Canada's most famous poltergeist case. The activity centered around 14-year-old Esther Cox. So, Esther, 1800s, she was 14 years old. She was an old maid by then.
Possibly.
Esther lived in a well-kept cottage with Olive, her oldest sister,
Okay.
Daniel Teed, Olive's husband, Willie, age 5, and George, age 1, Olive and Daniel's 2 sons.
Okay.
John Teed, which is Daniel's brother, William Cox, Esther and Olive's brother, and Jane, Esther, Olive, and William's 22-year-old sister. So Esther and Jane actually share a bedroom.
Okay.
Okay? So now we got everybody straight.
Okay.
I'll go over it again if need be.
I'm going to have to draw a tree here.
Right. Esther was said to be a strange girl, very moody, with an unusual fondness to pickles.
Okay.
She
I was
loved
about to say, they had pickles back then.
Well, they probably didn't go to the store and buy them like we do now. Or maybe Santa Claus brought her pickles like he does Sam.
All right.
At birth, she was a very tiny baby. 5 months old, 9 months old, she only weighed 5 pounds.
Oh, she was very tiny then.
Very tiny.
Wow.
Her mother passed away when she was only 3 weeks old.
Oh, gosh.
And her father, being the, he had needs. And so
he remarried because he had other kids that needed somebody to take care of.
Well, he remarried and moved to Maine, left Esther in the care of her grandmother.
Oh, well,
So
and left the T90 baby.
They leave the T90 baby.
I mean, he probably didn't know how to take care.
Possibly not, but maybe his new wife did.
Maybe she didn't want it.
May not have. People said about Esther being raised by her grandmother was that Esther grew up oddly serious and old-fashioned.
Well, yeah, she was being raised by a grandma.
Absolutely. One family friend had this quote to say about it. Esther's disposition is naturally mild and gentle. She can at times be very self-willed and is bound to have her own way when her mind is made up. If asked to do anything she does not feel like doing, she becomes very sulky and has to be humored at times to keep peace in the family. However, she is a good little girl and has always borne a good reputation in every sense of the word.
Sounds like a typical kid.
Basically. So, and it was 1878, so maybe that's why that was as far back as I could find a population. This happened in 1878, so maybe it was, anyhow.
Okay.
So, on a summer afternoon in 1878, a young man comes calling to Miss Esther.
How old is she then?
14.
14. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. Young man's name is Bob McNeil.
Okay.
He's a co-worker of Daniel T. Remember
Okay.
Daniel in the long list of people a while ago?
Yeah.
He's the brother-in-law.
Okay.
And invited Esther to go on a carriage ride with him.
Oh.
How 1870s of him.
Right. Who was the chaperone?
There was none.
Oh, this is scandalous.
So, let me just tell you.
Scandalous.
Scandalous. So they drive out into a wooded area out in the country.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they were planning on doing. Maybe hunting lightning bugs is what I'm going to think.
Very well could be.
Yeah. However, McNeil suddenly drew a revolver from his pocket and ordered Esther out of the carriage.
Huh. This turned quickly.
Yeah. Esther refused, saying that, shoot me if you must, but I am not going to get down.
Okay.
Bob was scared when the sound of approaching carriage. They could hear the wheels coming up.
Oh, so he got scared?
He got scared, put the gun away, and just took her home.
Okay.
Esther didn't say anything about it to her family. She just went in and cried herself to sleep, scared. I mean,
Oh my gosh, I would have went in tattletelling, like, this crazy dude.
let me tell you what happened. What happened?
I know.
Yeah. So, fast forward just a few months to September. Esther and Jane, her 22-year-old sister that she shares a bedroom with, were settling down for the night.
Okay.
And Jane felt what she thought was a mouse inside their mattress.
Okay.
So they get up, and of course, 1870s, they had to light the lamp so they could see, but they didn't find a mouse. So they get back in bed, get to sleep, and later on the same night, they heard some rustling underneath their bed, determined that it was coming from a cardboard box that was filled with scrap patchwork. They had been working on some blankets, so they had a cardboard box.
They had cardboard boxes back then, too?
Obviously.
Obviously.
They drug the box out from underneath the bed, and as soon as they got it out, it jumped at least a foot in the air,
Okay.
causing both girls to scream.
No doubt.
Daniel, the brother-in-law, came in, asked what was going on. They tell him the story, and he just laughs at them and says, "Girls, you must have been dreaming. Now get back to bed." So they listen to their brother-in-law. He's the man of the house. They go back to bed.
I want to know how old Daniel is. Oh, yeah, that's right. Back then, kids had manners. I forget.
Exactly. So, just not too much longer, the same night, Esther wakes up yelling and screaming, saying, "Wake up, Jane, I'm dying." Jane woke up and noticed that Esther's face was blood red, her eyes were bulging, and she was trembling.
How does that even work?
Wow, it's mystic. Jane cried for help, and in the article I read, it said, blah, blah, blah came in, blah, blah. The whole family came in, except for the two young sons, the 5-year-old and the 1-year-old. Everybody else came running in.
Okay, I'm confused.
Okay.
So Grandma was raising all these kids?
No, by this time, Grandma had died. and Esther had moved in to Olive and Daniel's house.
Okay, well you...
I may have skimmed over that
Yeah,
part.
you did, because I was like, wait a second, I'm so confused. So everybody just moved...
Yeah. Grandma has passed.
Okay.
And she is now living with the whole list of people that I listed out at the beginning.
Okay.
Jane cried for help. Everybody come running in. Olive helped Esther to get back into bed. And as soon as she did, all of her color immediately drained from her face.
Okay,
No
so
longer
she...
blood red.
Okay.
Esther stated, I am swelling up and shall certainly burst. I know I shall.
Okay.
Just feeling bloated. However, Olive checked her out, and her hands and feet were both amazingly swollen.
Amazingly, does that mean they were...
Alarmingly. I read that
Okay.
wrong. I can't even read my own writing. What do I need to have a podcast for?
Alarmingly, I can see this because I was like, what is this like? I don't know what they're meaning by that.
Yeah, she was alarmingly swollen.
Okay.
Her complexion was now a deathly pale, where just moments earlier she was beet red. Her skin was burning with fever, where moments she was icy cold to the touch. And all of a sudden they heard a tremendous sound, like a clap of thunder, but it came from inside the room. 3 loud cracks sounded beneath the bed. Daniel and his brother got down to explore, and there was nothing. There wasn't even a crack in the flooring.
There's nothing under there?
Nothing. Esther suddenly went limp, and her appearance returned to normal. Following morning,
she was normal?
Esther seemed normal, although her appetite was diminished. Not being able to explain the incident, the family decided not to tell anybody.
Boy, wouldn't either. They'd be thinking we're all crazy.
Yeah, y'all hear that Salem witch trial? Let's just keep our mouths shut. No, they hadn't heard the Salem witch trial. It hadn't happened yet. Wait, yeah, maybe it did. Shut up, Watson. Go on. That's a different story.
You looked it up before you mentioned it.
That's another story.
I'm pretty sure it was after this. This is after that.
Yeah. The family decided. 4 nights later, Esther had another attack. However, this time, all of the sheets lifted off the bed and flew into the corner. Jane, being awake, was so scared that she fainted. She hadn't quite gone to sleep yet. Everyone rushed in to the room after hearing Esther's scream.
I'm thinking we need Ed and Lorraine Warren.
This is just before their time.
It is yoke.
Yeah. Olive got the blankets and put back on her sister's, but almost immediately the sheets flew off again, back into that same corner.
Okay.
Next thing that happened, while Esther is still laying down in her bed, her pillow flew through the air and struck John, who is Dan's brother, in the face. John, being a manly man, ran out of the room screaming. Olive and Dan sat on each side of the bed to keep the sheets from flying off again. After a series of loud knocks, Esther's swelling went down, and she peacefully slept.
How many knocks?
It just said a series. The next day, Dan and Olive contacted the local doctor. I mean, who else are you going to call?
Certainly not the Ghostbusters.
No, they had been helpful, but they weren't even born yet. So after explaining the situation to the doctor and him listening intently, he assured them confidently that this would not happen while he was at the house.
Okay.
So he's either being very confident or he's thinking this is a hoax. One of the two.
Poor hoax. These people are crazy.
Yep. And so The doctor arrived about 10 o'clock that night and went to examine Esther, who had been in bed already for an hour. He stated that Esther has suffered a tremendous shock to her system.
Okay.
While in the middle of saying this, and Esther, again, laying down in her bed, her pillow, this dang pillow, they're going to have to do something with it. Her pillow rotated to the point that only one corner was now underneath her head.
Okay.
And so the doc and the family watched on as the pillow then rotated back to its original position.
Is this Grandma?
I don't know. They never say anything about Grandma being a prankster.
Okay.
The doctor then stated, "Did y'all see that? It went back again." Now, you remember John, who got hit in the face with the pillow.
Okay.
He said, "So it did, but if it moves out again, it will not go back, for I intend to hold on to it, even if it did bang me over the head last night." So he's got over his fright of pillows, and he's going to go over there and grab a hold of it so it cannot rotate again. Pillow said, "Hold my beer."
Hey, right?
No sooner than he said these words, the pillow started moving again. John runs over, grabs a hold of it, and the pillow moves back as if no resistance was being held on it. Once again, loud bangs under the bed. Doc got on his knees and checked, found nothing. When Doc stood up, the bed sheets once again floated up and flew off into the corner. So what did they hear next? Some loud scratchings coming along the wall.
This is just creepy.
They turn around and are horrified to see, as they're watching it, this being spelled out. Esther Cox, you are mine to kill. Just being written on the wall. This is witnessed.
It written in?
It says carved. They heard the loud scratching.
Okay.
So it's witnessed by the doctor and all Esther and all of her family. They all see it happening.
Yikes. That's scary. That's scary, dude.
It is very scary. And I got to thinking, this is the 1870s. They probably did not have very good FX. Special effects.
Oh, special effects? No, I'm pretty sure that, they would be able to see somebody standing there. I don't think it could be
Yes, ma'am.
a Houdini thing yeah.
Yeah, it just wouldn't happen.
Right? Oh my gosh, I don't know where I was going.
I'm not either, but Harry Houdini was...
Escape artist, yes.
Well, no.
I think I was going...
He was huge in dispelling stuff like this before his death. So, for the next 3 weeks, the strange activity increased. Up to the point that Esther started getting pelted with items, such as potatoes and wood planks. Violent banging noise now was not just centered to their room, but was throughout the whole house.
Throughout the house?
The doc, when he was asked about it, he said it sounded like somebody was up on the roof and hitting it with a sledgehammer.
Yikes, that's scary.
In late September 1878, during another knocking session, Esther had a seizure and became cold and rigid.
Okay.
Told and in the middle of all this, told her family about the incident with Bob McNeil.
Okay.
Had never mentioned any of it before.
But she's so cold and afraid.
She finally comes out and tells them.
Right.
When she recovered and started coming out of all this, and they tell her, you said blah, blah, blah about Bob McNeil, and she's like, I don't remember saying that, but yes, it did happen. So she didn't remember any of it. A few weeks later, Jane noticed the knocking corresponded with things said. So the brother-in-law, Daniel, wanted to test this theory, asked the force, as they started to call it, the force, to knock one knock for every person standing in the room. And it immediately answered. 7 knocks for the 7 people standing in the room. So they developed a method to where 1 knock was no when they would ask questions. 3 knocks was yes. And if the entity or the force wasn't sure, then it would be a 2 knock answer if they weren't sure about the answer. Starting in October, several clergy from different denominations started visiting the house. One such was a well-educated Baptist minister, probably liked fried chicken and gravy.
That sounds good.
Oh my gosh, I hadn't met a Baptist minister who didn't. No offense to any if y'all are listening. Charles Lowry, you know what I'm talking about. But he thought that neither Esther or her family was responsible for the goings-on.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. But his theory was that Bob McNeil was. That the trauma from that incident had caused Esther to be like an electric battery to the spirit world.
Okay. Like a conduit.
Right. And that Esther was emitting invisible flashes of electricity that caused small thunderclaps. So that was the sound of thunder, that was the knocking, that was all that was going on. Another pastor that visited, this time he was a Methodist. Not that that has anything to do with anything, but it was listed in the article. So he witnessed several activities, the most shocking of which was there was a bucket of cold water sitting on the kitchen table. And while he was talking to the family about the force, this bucket of cold water started to boil and froth over.
That's creepy.
But yeah, when they touched it, it was still cold. So you know how when something traumatic happens, people's got to get nosy.
Yes.
So this started getting out about what was going on, and people flocked to the house from all over.
Looky-loos.
Looky-loos, absolutely. I used to hate looky-loos when I was a cop.
Dislike them.
I very much disliked them.
There you go.
New Year's resolution, I'm trying to stop saying hate. I very much disliked them. Some thought it was a hoax. Some thought Esther was hypnotizing people into thinking they're seeing these things.
Okay.
Talented 14-year-old.
Well, yeah.
But most felt the activity was genuine.
Okay.
By December, activity is still continuing. Esther contracted diphtheria.
Oh.
Which is a serious infection of the nose and throat, and it still affects about 20,000 people in the U.S. each year.
Like today?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. It's not very common, but it's still about 20,000 cases a year.
Huh.
Um, during this time that she was recovering, which was about 2 weeks, there was no activity. Ghosts are like, the force is like, hey, she's sick. Let's leave her. Let's back up.
Right.
After she recovered, she went to another sister's house who lived in Sackville, New Brunswick, for 2 weeks.
Okay.
During that 2 weeks, no activities. So about a month, she's activity free. But upon her return back to Daniel and Olive's house, Jane had the idea that, hey, maybe we need to move to a different bedroom. Maybe we can outsmart the force. Mm-hmm. It didn't work.
Like maybe it was only centralized in that one bedroom?
Right.
Okay.
Instead of that happening, the activity got worse.
Okay, so she went to that one place and stayed for 2 weeks, and then she came home.
Yes.
Okay.
So she's back with Daniel and Olive, and sharing bedroom and a bed with Jane.
Okay.
In the new bedroom, now though, along with loud noises and throwing things, lit matches started falling from the ceiling.
This is insane. Like, I don't understand how any of this could be happening.
One night, while Esther, Olive, and Jane were in Esther and Jane's bedroom talking, Esther had a dress that was hanging on a nail behind the door. It flew off, it rolled itself up and rolled under their bed and immediately burst into flames.
Did it burn their house down?
No, it burned the dress up, and then when it was gone, it just went out.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently the force did not like that dress.
Apparently not.
It would be neat to know if she was wearing that dress when she went on the carriage ride with Bob McNeil.
I don't know.
Olive and Esther were making butter, very 1870s of them.
Yes, like, come on, get with the program.
And the house caught fire while they're making butter.
How does that happen?
What's it called? Spontaneous combustion,
okay.
Except it was a house.
It was a house?
Yeah.
So did it burn down this time?
No, they couldn't extinguish it, so they ran out crying for help. There just happened to be this strange man that none of them had ever seen before walking down the street. He ran in, grabbed a quilt, and put the fire out. And then nobody saw him leave, but he was never seen again.
Okay.
Olive and Esther saw him run in, put out the fire, but never saw him again.
Like, that would be very creepy to just see a person and then not see the person.
Exactly. So
They couldn't have snuck out the back door?
he could have, but they didn't. Nobody, by this time, John and Daniel had made it back to the house, and so I'm assuming there were people all the way around it. Their neighbors had come over, and nobody saw him ever again.
Can you describe this man?
Right. Well, he was strange. So after this, Esther, because they're having to do some rebuild on the house, so she goes back to Nova Scotia to stay with some other family. That's all the article said. Some more. It said particular family. But it didn't name who. So she goes and stays with them for 8 weeks, and then Esther returns back to Amherst, and the manifestations immediately continue.
But they didn't while she was gone.
They did not. It was a peaceful 8-week stay. She didn't have anything happen to her personally, and nothing happened at the house. As soon as she returns to the house, boom, they intensified.
So this is fitting under the poltergeist category.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So right now we're going to introduce another new character to our story. He is listed as an enterprising American actor by the name of Walter Hubble.
Okay, is this like the Hubble telescope?
Probably not.
Okay.
He had just finished a theatrical tour in Newfoundland, that place over there in Canada. Newfoundland.
Mom used to pronounce it Newfoundland.
Okay, Newfoundland. If it's good enough for my mother-in-law, it's good enough for me. She was the sweetest lady
ever. She lived.
I thought it was Nova Scotia.
It's one of the two.
Well, ask Robert. Hey, Robert.
Hey, yeah, Robert and Deanie would know.
Yeah. And so he moved in with the Teed family as a paying boarder in hopes of documenting the manifestations.
Oh.
And it's from his subsequent writings that we get most of the information for the great Amherst mystery.
Oh.
Over the course of the next 6 weeks, Hubble was pelted with inanimate objects, saw household items vanish.
Okay, wait a minute. Inanimate objects, just like
a
bowl and or whatever.
Could be a pin, yeah. I mean, it's
Okay.
inanimate. It can get up and throw itself.
Just making sure I was tracking.
Yes, ma'am. Saw household items vanish and reappear as if dropped from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Watched objects levitate and translocate. So, like toilet paper just appear here from the bathroom.
Okay.
That's,
That was just an example.
Yeah, I guess it would.
They may not have had indoor plumbing.
I was going to say back then it would probably be a corn cob from the outhouse just appear. Right? Could you imagine?
Maybe not used.
And he witnessed several fires break out spontaneously. These poor people. Could you imagine being their insurance provider? Good Lord. All of the antics had an air of mischief, as if the poltergeists were doing their best to annoy the guest and the family.
I think they're doing a good job of it.
I think I would have already called real estate agent and been like, put it on the market. Hubble noted that the ghosts refrained from the devilry on the Sabbath, so they did have some respect. Got to give that to them.
Okay. Pretty smart ghosts or poltergeists if they knew that it was Sunday.
Absolutely. Convinced that Esther was incapable of conducting the pranks herself, Hubble began to converse with the poltergeist using the same techniques that the Teeds had developed.
Okay.
Knock 1 for no, 3 for yes, and 2 if you're not sure. So got some of their conversation here. Question: have you all lived on the earth? Answer: yes. Question: have you seen God? Answer: no. Question: are you in heaven? Answer: no. Are you in hell? Yes. And the last one: have you seen the devil? And a very loud and emphatic yes.
Okay.
On June 28th, 1878, so almost a full year, no, 1879, sorry, I read that wrong, because it started in 1878. June 28th, 1879, the Teed house all woke to the sound of a trumpet. Uh-huh. I'd just be like, no, I don't hear that. No. The noise continued throughout the day and until the evening, and then a small silver trumpet fell from the ceiling into one of the rooms. Neither Hubble nor any members of the Teed family had any idea where the trumpet came from, although Hubble later declared his intention to donate this instrument to the museum. The fate of this object is unknown to this day.
Hmm.
The manifestations increased in scope and intensity until later that summer. It was decided that Esther had to leave the Teed home for everyone's sake. After embarking on a brief speaking tour with Hubble, the actor, during which she was heckled by many audience members who believed her to be a fraud, Esther went to live in the home of a friend of the Teeds. Unfortunately, shortly after her arrival, the family barn burned down.
Oh my gosh.
And so, of course, Esther was accused of arson, was found guilty, and sentenced to 4 months in prison. Hard labor.
Gosh.
But fortunately for her, everybody always described her as a good girl, would do whatever. She was released after only 1 month for good behavior. And after her release, she married a man who she met in that 1 month. So, they had a quick arrangement. She met him while he was, it doesn't say how they met, but she met him while she was in the prison. So I don't know if he worked there, if he was there.
He was a guard.
He was
Hopefully
there
not
visiting.
Another, visitor or a
Inmate.
I
don't know if he was there visiting somebody else and just saw, hey, she looks good.
Yeah.
What's her story? Well, she has the devil following her around and sets things on fire. I think I'll marry her.
Interesting.
Anyhow, they get married, and the poltergeist activity stops.
Huh.
Ends. Had never happened
And
again.
nothing happened while she was in the jail either?
Mm-mm. So maybe this poltergeist was a matchmaker and was just leading her to prison.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to find your man.
Uh-huh.
So that is the story of the great Amherst mystery. My bibliography for this week, all the information that I got about the population, where it's located, came from Wikipedia. Vocabulary.com is where I got the meaning of polter and Geist from Germany.
Okay.
And an article on mysteriesofcanada.com, which is a very cool website. Highly suggest it to anybody listening. Article is called The Great Amherst Mystery, Canada's Most Famous Poltergeist.
Okay.
So, Teach, that is the Great Amherst Mystery.
Alrighty. That was not very...
You got spooked a time or two. Can't say you didn't.
No, things going bump underneath the bed always freaks me out. Because you don't know what's under there.
The sheets,
It's dark.
the sheets flying off.
Mm-hmm.
The lit matches falling from the ceiling. Can't tell me that wouldn't scare you.
Well, no, if I would have been there, that would have been scary, but
Yeah.
I wasn't, so that's...
I still gotta do some work on proving it to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give you a C+.
You saw how hard I worked on that? No, I appreciate that.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, it was interesting, but it's not scary or profoundly going to persuade me to believe.
I got you.
So, I mean, that's really where it goes, is like, you gotta make me a believer, and then you will get an A.
Sweet. Like on the Divic box.
Yes, now that, good.
Quit bringing that up.
Yeah, don't be buying no pretty wooden boxes from, garage sales. I'm just saying.
All right, Teach is going to reach into the bowl. You going to do the claw this time?
Yes, I'm going to do the claw. All right. Drum roll. Oh, look, you get to do another paranormal.
Oh, joy, joy.
Yes. Now I want this about the creepiest, the haunting in Connecticut ghost dude. Like basement, scary.
I got you.
Okay.
All right. Classmates, have a great week. And we'll see y'all next week.
Alrighty. Class is dismissed.